Okay, so the assignment that we're starting today is so we just finished perspective. Now, I know some of you are still working on it, so that's fine. Um, you should have enough time to finish both, even if you're a little bit behind. I'm giving you guys a little bit extra time on this, but we're jumping into the hand series. So I want to go over just an overview of the instructions and just kind of show you some of the information that we have in here. So I have a slideshow in here, and you can feel free to kind of look at this as you want. But I just have some examples of different hands. And so hands are kind of an important thing in drawing. One, because they're very expressive. Um, and two, hands can be a very difficult thing to draw. They're very, very complex. So the focus of this basically unit that we're doing is we're going to start with the basics of like how to draw hands. And then we're going to look more creatively at how can we use the hands to tell a story or create an interesting artwork. So you're going to be starting off with a series of practice drawings where we're just really accurately trying to draw the hand in different poses with shading. And then we're going to do a final hand project that might be a little bit more artistic. You could be a little creative with it. You could be a little abstract with it. But the main project is I want your hand either like holding or interacting with something. So you'll see as I go through these artworks here, there's a lot of different art styles, a lot of different things going on, but you can see how we can even add abstraction in there. So I'm going to let you kind of use your own creativity on that when we get to it. If you want to do like a straightforward drawing of a hand just holding something that's interesting to you, you could do that at like a bare minimum. But if you want to do something a little bit more abstract with it, I'm going to be open to that as well, as long as it incorporates like main components of the hand. Okay, so I'm not going to, we don't have to sit and like talk about all of these, but you can just see there's a lot of different hand drawings, different styles. There's a lot of slides in there. So I'm just going to leave that slide for you guys to look at when we get there. Okay. All right. So, and we're going to talk about it because obviously you don't want to use hand gestures and things that are inappropriate, right? So let's look at this here. So when you guys are drawing the hand, a key to drawing a really accurate hand is thinking of the infrastructure of how the hand is built. So typically when students struggle drawing objects, it's because they're just trying to draw like the outer outline of an object. And realistically, what works well for this applies to figure drawing as well, is you want to start with the inner structure, almost like drawing the skeleton of it first and understanding how the hand is made up. So if you look at your hands and you just hold it out, you'll see that your knuckles kind of line up on like a U curve, and it kind of transfers throughout the fingers, and the fingers all have different lengths, with the middle finger typically being the longest. So if you hold your hand out, you'll kind of see that there's a pretty consistent U curve going on here. And so depending on how you're drawing the hand, understanding that structure is really important. And I'll talk more about that in a minute because I am going to do like a drawing sample for you guys at the end here. So you can see here the curves are kind of outlined for you, but you can kind of see where those objects line up. So when people struggle with hands, a lot of times it's with proportion. So within a hand, we have a lot going on because we have four kind of small limbs that are all different lengths, they're all different sizes, and understanding how to line those up is going to be very, very important. So a lot of these are going to be in here as additional references for you. And then you can see here, we can use that same skeleton model even if the hand is in different poses to understand where parts are. Okay. All right. And then just more examples here of different poses and things like that for the hand. So just in general, you're going to have those examples up there. So there's going to be two assignments in here. One is a series of practice drawings, which you're going to do 3 practice drawings. And then we're going to have the final actual project in here. So for the practice drawings, I have the instructions in here, and you can see the 3 drawings are laid out. So you're going to be drawing your own hand, and some of you are going to be comfortable just holding out your hand and looking at it as you draw. Others are going to want to take maybe a photo and work from the photo. So whatever you're more comfortable with, you can do there. Oh, and you know what? Hold on one second here. I'm going to jump back to the Google Meet. I don't think I'm presenting screen. I'm going to present screen. But you guys, this is all recorded, so you guys will be able to see it. But sorry, I forgot to present screen before I hopped in here. We'll go back here so you guys can see. Okay. So the first drawing is you're going to draw a hand open or partially open, and I would like it to be the palm side of the hand. So that would be like the inner part of the hand. Then the second drawing, I want your hand open or partially open, showing the top side of the hand. And then the third drawing is going to be a closed fist from any angle. So I'm having you try different poses and different angles, basically. So you're going to choose 3. Now, what you can do is you can kind of do some quick rough sketches first to get a handle on it, and then do kind of like the final of your practice. But basically, these can be done on newsprint or just 9x12 white. They don't have to be very large. But I just want to see the 3 drawings total. So I've got some examples here. So this would be an example of something where the hand is closed, so that could count as one of the drawings. This would be an open, and then this would be like the palm side. So the palm is this fleshy part here. And then this would be open with the back side of the hand. And once again, the fingers could be curved, they could be straight. You could kind of do a mix of those things as well. So this was just a sample drawing, and these can be drawn digitally. If you would prefer to draw digitally using the Canvas program, you can do that. So this is the hand example I'm going to use for mine when we get to it, okay? So basically, you're going to do 3 separate drawings. Once again, it can just be 9x12 newsprint or regular white drawing paper or whatever you have at home. And I understand for those of you at home, like you could be getting to the point where you're running out of paper, depending on how well I calculated it out, but it is possible you could be running out, especially if you use extra. So just use whatever paper you can find at home. If it has to be on notebook paper, that's fine. If you have other papers at home or you want to draw digital, that's fine as well, okay? So you're going to start with the practice drawings, and then you're going to go to the final assignment, which will be here. And I have this all due basically at the end of the semester because I think this is going to be the last set I'm going to introduce, just because I know people are still working on other drawings. So this final drawing is going to be a hand, and it has to either be holding or interacting with an object. So it has to include a minimum of 1 hand and an object, okay? So you can kind of decide that. So you can use one or both hands in your photo. You want to think large and cropped in. So you want the hands like really filling up the paper and using up a lot of the space. Think about what's going to be in the background, if there's going to be anything in the foreground, middle ground. And for all of these drawings, I should say this as well. We're going to kind of consider this like your final set or like your final project. So we're kind of culminating what we've learned throughout the semester. So I'm going to let you choose whatever drawing materials you want for all parts of it. So if you want to do white charcoal drawings, if you want to do black charcoal, if you want them to be pencil drawings, if you want to use medium ground paper, or if you want to use black paper or white paper, I'm going to let you choose for all of them. So even like your small practice ones, if you want to do charcoal on those and make those really nice, you can do that. For your final, I would prefer that on 12x18, so larger paper, and then you could do black, white, or medium ground paper, and then you can choose the tools. And even if you wanted to like mix in something different, like a little bit of watercolor or something in the background, like I want you to really have fun with this one and really explore materials. It could also use like pen, marker. You could think of anything that we've done or anything even that we haven't done that you want to explore further. Like we haven't done much with, we didn't get a chance to get into oil pastels. So if you wanted to explore pastels on this project, I could take some of those out for you to do. If you really like Zentangle and want to do like a Zentangle hand for your final and try to make that work, we could do that. So I'm going to be really open, but you want to think of this as like your final project to really show me what you can do and show me what you like, okay? And I just have some examples of, so these are good examples of just like realistic hands that are interacting and holding objects. I think it would be interesting to think about like you as a person and what interests you and what your personality is, and to have your hands interacting with things like that, okay? So we can talk about that as we go through. So what I want to do here is just show you the basics of drawing a hand, and this would be kind of the start for like your practice. So what I've got is I've got my hand image here and my paper here as well. So here's how you should start. So you want to start with the skeleton. So I'm going to look at my hand. I'm going to draw it big to fill up the paper, all right? So what you want to start is like this. I usually start with like the main section of the hand or the middle part. And it's going to be a shape like this. Now, it's going to depend on the angle of your hand, but it's going to kind of be like this rounded curved top. And then like one side, they're going to kind of angle in almost like a parallelogram, something like this. And then it's going to kind of round off on the bottom. So you're going to start with a shape kind of like that for like the main part of your hand. And then that'll kind of lead you down to the wrist. And then I could have like the wrist and arm kind of come off the page, looking at the angle like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the joints, and I'm going to pick a finger to start with, and I'm going to start to mark where those joints are. And if you look carefully like at a hand, look at my hand. Sorry, my fingers aren't bloody. Don't worry, that's just paint. But if you look at like a finger here, so if I look at my thumb, basically what you're looking at is you have a joint, and then there's a straight piece of bone, and then a joint, and then a straight piece of bone. And so what's happening underneath, it's really like joint, and then straight line, joint, straight line, and then joint, straight line, joint, straight line. On top, it doesn't look as straight because you've got like the curved flesh on top of it, but that's really what's happening underneath. It's all straight bone connected together by joints. So you want to really think about that as you're drawing. So if I'm looking like up here, I'm going to start with this thumb joint up here. I'm going to try to locate where I feel like that starts. I think it starts like somewhere up here. So I'm going to mark that joint with a circle. Then I'm going to do a straight line for the bone. And then I'm going to do another circle here. And I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to say this will be like the tip of the thumb will be up there. So it's going to look weird at first. It's going to kind of look like a wire hand. But now I'm going to go here and I'm going to start marking the joints on this finger. So we're going to have a nice joint here, and then straight line, and then joint, straight line, joint, and then the finger will come up on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start building this out. And what I could do is I could look and try to kind of evenly space the four main joints. So this is the knuckles essentially. Even though I'm not looking at the knuckle side, that's where that first joint is, right? And then you just go with each finger and you try to build out those angles, okay? So what I'll do is I won't do like the whole thing. I'll maybe stop here and just do these three fingers. But what you do is once you have that wire hand or that kind of inner part set up of the hand, then you can start drawing around it. And as you get more comfortable with hands, advanced drawers can kind of skip this step and then just begin drawing the hand like their own way. But this is a great way, especially for beginners. So I'm going to go up from my wrist here now. And I'm looking at my drawing closely. Like I'm not just like drawing this and then just looking at my paper and drawing around it. Now I'm still using this as a guide, but I'm looking at my drawing or my hand really closely. And now I'm looking at like the intricate curves of the flesh. But now where I see the joint is, I know that that's where that bump is going to go. And then I'm going to the next part of the thumb here. And I can see that's where that bump goes. And then I can see that this part's going to lead me up to the main curve of my thumb here. And so I'm still being careful and looking and seeing where the curves go and things like that. But then trying to get those parts kind of sketched in there. So you can see the initial wire part you should be drawing with like an H pencil very light, so it's going to get erased. But you can see if I went through here and I erased this out now, that thumb is looking pretty, pretty decent. And then you can look at where all the creases and curves are and things like that. And then that's going to lead you into all the shading. So the shading, I'm not really going to cover that in this video or this example, but based on what you've done, you should be able to obviously see the values and do the shading from there. And then you can kind of look at like where some of these creases and things are and kind of start to delve out that way. So I'll go ahead and do maybe one more finger. Now, as I'm doing this next finger here, up here, I'm looking at the gap in between. So that's really important because if you gap them too far away, it's going to look really funny, okay? So I'm going to go here and just look at like the gapping, and I'm going to kind of start to draw and use my joints here as a guide to know like where the fingers go. And I'm just kind of drawing the fleshy parts of the finger around it, kind of following where I went. And then also looking to make sure like height-wise, if this looks like it's about the right height over that part. And then as I come down, you'll see that there's like these little creases. That's where the joints are, right? So like my crease is probably going to, if I drew my joints correctly, the creases are probably going to go through where those joint lines are on my skeleton part, okay? And then something like that. And nothing you draw is permanent. Like you can always keep going around and things like that. And then that's going to lead me over to my next finger. And once again, I just have to look at like the gapping and make sure that all looks correct, okay? So I'm not going to go much farther than this. We'll just kind of get this to start just so you guys can see. But then you can see where my crease lines are. I can kind of start going from there. So you can see I've got the start of a hand with a couple of fingers on there, and it's starting to build out and look more accurate. Whereas if I looked at this hand and then just try drawing around the outside, it's very hard to draw it accurately. So the trick is building from inside out and building over your drawing like that. And I think this is another one I had on the bottom that I had done before, but you can kind of see the same process is working there. So that's basically it. So just to recap what we're doing here, okay? If you're starting this today, some of you, if you're finishing an older assignment, you can finish that first. Or if this is more exciting and you want to start this and finish the other one later, that's fine as well. So just a reminder, you're starting off with the 3 practice drawings. So what I'm looking for, once again, is I want 2 drawings with an open hand, one from the palm side, one from the back side, and you can choose the formation. But once again, It has to be appropriate. So you can't like make gang signs. You can't do middle fingers. You can't do the shocker thing, because I've seen people do that before, and I know what that is. If you don't know what it is, that's great. Don't look it up. But don't draw that. So I know what don't do anything inappropriate with your hands. I won't allow it. So just pick simple hand gestures or like simple poses that are just interesting, but more open. So 2 of them are open, and then the third one is a closed fist. It could be like if you want to do like a thumbs up or something, like most of it is closed, or it could just be fully closed. And then you can look and you can choose the angle that you want. So 3 practice drawings, any paper, any tools of your choosing, and then the final drawing, like I said, a more detailed. Think of it more as an artwork that's going to make a statement about who you are as a person. Your hand holding or interacting with objects, so you might need to bring something in from home or take photos from home to do that. That I want done on bigger paper, 12 by 18, can be done on black, white, or medium ground paper. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop recording here. Let me come back here.